everybody, my name is Tom Butwin. Welcome to the channel, and today we have another pedal from Universal Audio. This time it's the Woodrow 55, and this is one of 3 pedals they just released that emulate some of the most iconic and classic guitar amplifiers that have ever existed. This one right here is a Fender 55 Tweed Deluxe. Universal Audio has gone through painstaking lengths to model real amplifiers, and in doing so, they only give you the options that were available on those amps that they're modeling. So in this case, with the Woodrow 55, you're not getting any reverb and you're not getting any tremolo because the Fender 55 Tweed Deluxe did not have either one of those things. But what it did have was a unique input structure. So the instrument channel has a little bit more of an aggressive tone to it. And if you go full out on the instrument channel, you're gonna hear a very aggressive sound. Pretty cool. It's very usable. I mean, really, it screams. It's very, very cool. All right, so let's see what happens when we crank this channel. It's a totally different overdrive and saturation. Let's go back to the instrument channel. So there's that, and here's the mic channel full out. Both really cool, and you can blend the two, so you're kind of actually sort of connected to both channels, which is something that you'd need multiple cables to do on the real amp. So here's with both inputs right at 12 o'clock. Now, as with all of these pedals from Universal Audio, something that you get on the pedal that you do not have on the actual amplifiers is this output knob. This output knob is simply here because you need to really be able to control how hot that signal is going to your mixing console or your recording interface or whatever it is that you're running this pedal into in lieu of an amplifier. So in the real world, if you had a Tweed 55 Deluxe, to get these types of sounds, you're going to be up in the stratosphere as far as volume to get that breakup. And you don't really want that because you can end up clipping whatever it is you're plugging into. So this output allows you a lot of flexibility and control over what you're sending as far as a signal, but it's not necessarily authentic to the actual amplifier. So one thing to note, it's not the easiest thing in the world to get a sparkling Fender clean tone out of this. It's not really the amp for that. You can get it to clean up by bringing the instrument and mic volume down, but it's not that same Fender blackface, clean, sparkling tone that you would expect. It's a totally different type of Fender amp. Now, as I said, you don't get reverb on this, but if you're listening closely, you can definitely hear some reverb, and I don't actually have anything in post-processing on that. That's coming out of this pedal, and you'll notice there's a knob that says room. So if I kill that, that is very dead. That is the most direct, boring, dry kind of thing. Now, if that's what you want, great. But that's the equivalent of having your amplifier mic'd in a really tight isolation box. Most of us aren't doing that, and I can tell you, wearing in-ear monitors, it's a very jarring and unrealistic way to play. Normally, even when you mic a real amp in a room, you're going to get a little bit of that room sound. So if I bring the room knob to noon, you can hear it. It's a really, really live, tight room. It sounds very realistic. You know, it's very, very snappy, very, very cool. Definitely adds to the realism. So if I crank that all the way, still very cool. This is more of a, room mic, distance mic kind of thing. Definitely has that vibe to it. So it's not going to be a really long reverb. You know, if that's the kind of thing you're looking for, spacey, long reverbs, it's not going to do it. This is simply to bring realism to the amp simulation. Okay, so let's move over to the tone knob. Now we're staying true to what's available on the actual amplifier. You don't have a treble, a bass, or a mid EQ knob, you have a tone. And this is definitely just dealing with your upper treble frequencies. So here's the tone rolled all the way back. All right, and let's go tone at about noon. All right, and then we're gonna go full out on the tone. What do you notice when I crank that tone? It's not just a tone knob. We're actually getting more gain, more drive, more saturation when you crank this, and this is what happens on the actual amplifier. You're not simply just getting a higher level of high frequencies, you are getting all kinds of extra drive. It's very interesting. Like, it's kind of another layer of distortion or overdrive that you can bring in. And even, you know, a lot of times tone knobs, and you crank them all the way up, they're really too sharp and brittle and bright. This it's still very, very cool and usable. Love that reverb. It's really fun to play with. Very, very cool. As the instructions tell you, if you want a cleaner sound, noon is about where you want to leave the tone. Okay, moving over to the boost knob. Now, I have had the toggle switch here set to stock the entire time we have been demonstrating what goes on with this pedal. And when you have the toggle switch in stock mode and the boost turned all the way off, nothing's happening. As soon as you start to turn this knob up, you're getting some clean gain and clean boost in stock mode. There's about noon. Let's go all the way up. So you're not really adding any dirt, which is kind of cool. There's about 9 o'clock, and then here's noon again. Still really, really, really nice and usable. And what you can start to do is there's a preset button on here. So you can actually build presets. So if you wanted a solo boost, a clean boost, you could have it in stock mode, dial in the amount of boost that you'd like, and boom, you hit that button, and all of a sudden you're up over the band and you can do your thing. So when we go to the KP3K setting on the boost, now what we're doing is emulating an 80s tape delay preamp that would be used possibly to boost this signal. So you get a little bit of a different character. And what I'm noticing too is that it's even cleaner actually. It's even cleaner than that stock boost. Really cool. Here's full out on the KP3K. Really neat. Very cool. Okay, the last boost setting is the EP3. And this one is also using a preamp section from an outboard piece of gear to get you a different tonal characteristic. So here's nothing. Here's just no boost. And as soon as I bring this up, let's see. Much thicker. It's fat. It's a very fat boost. Really cool. That's awesome. Here's full out on this. Wow. Interesting. Very, very warm, very fat type of boost. So I'm going to roll that all back off, and we're right back to stock mode on the boost. So lastly, we're going to look at the different speaker and microphone combinations that you get with this pedal. I've tested everything so far on the BLU 15 setting, which is a 15-watt Celestion Blue speaker. And it's mic'd, this is important, with a U67 style condenser microphone. So that is the tone. that we've been getting this whole time. But we get 2 additional speakers that you can swap in at the flip of a switch. So if I just go down 1 to the JP12, we now have a Jensen 12-inch speaker and a different microphone. This is now an SM57 mic model. So you can definitely hear a difference. That U67 is way smoother, and that's also, has something to do with the speaker as well. So that's back to the Blue 15, and if we go back to the JP12, totally different sound, and you're changing 2 variables now. Keep that in mind. Not only are you changing the speaker, but you're changing the mic model. Okay, last but not least, we have the GB25. This speaker is modeled in a few of the other pedals as well, and this is also mic'd with an SM57 dynamic mic. Definitely a smoother sound than that JP12. Let's go back to the JP12. Different sound, and then here's the Blue. So I don't really know how much of the change in tone is coming from the different microphone model as opposed to the different speaker. Now, obviously, both of those things have the potential to change the sound of the amplifier very, very drastically, but I don't know what exactly went into choosing these models. Now, if you're saying 3 is not enough, guess what? If you buy one of these and you register it with Universal Audio, they give you an additional 3 speaker/microphone models. And that goes for all 3 of these pedals, not just the Woodrow, but the Dream and the Ruby as well. That's all of the basic functions within the Woodrow 55. You can go really deep if you download the app, if you start to create presets, download other artists' presets. There's actually a ton of different combinations that you can put together with this pedal. A lot of them are outlined in the manual, so if you buy one of these, I would strongly suggest going to UA's website and reading it. Actually, to be honest with you, even before you buy this, go read the manual. It will give you a great idea of what these pedals do and how they work. For me, I think that this pedal is the most niche pedal, and what I mean by that is that it's not going to be the type of thing that I think the Dream 65 can be, which is a replacement for your amplifier. Now, the 65 Deluxe Reverb that the Dream 65 is based off of is a much more versatile amp, in my opinion. You can play a lot of different styles of music with that. You can also drive a lot of different pedals into it. This amplifier has a very distinct and unique tone in and of itself. And that is really cool if that's what you're going for. But like I said earlier in the video, if you're gonna use this as your amp emulator and run pedals into it and just rely on it solely as your amplifier, and you need clean tones, sparkling clean tones, you're not gonna get them with this. You're always gonna have that overdriven, saturated sound to some extent. Now, if that's what you want, by all means, go for it. But for me, my biggest interest in these pedals came from the idea that I could actually build a board around one of them, and I can have the best of both worlds. I have my real pedal board I can plug into my amp, and then when I don't want to use my amp, I kick this on and I have a direct line to go to a PA or a recording interface, whatever the case may be. Now, you might be saying, well, why not just buy all 3 of the UAFX amps and pedals and you can have all of those tones? And you would be right, but that is a lot of money, and I don't know if anybody's going to do that. Maybe you will if you really love these pedals, but me, I'm actually looking for just one that can kind of fill in for my amplifier, and I'm thinking that's probably the Dream 65 because I do own an actual 65 Deluxe Reverb. That being said, I am supremely impressed by this pedal. It is super cool. If you want this kind of guitar sound, this is it. I mean, honestly, even outside of the amp emulation, this is some of the best overdrive saturation that I've heard in a long time. It's really cool. It's very usable. And this room reverb, I mean, it's really to die for. It's so awesome. Very, very cool. Very realistic. All of the settings are very usable, and you really can't go wrong with them, honestly. I mean, I can't think of a setting on here that if you just crank it to 10, it doesn't really sound bad. And a lot of times when you have pedals and effects and amplifiers, if you just dime them out, it doesn't sound good. You got to find that sweet spot. I'm not suggesting turn all of this up to 10, but if you take one of the parameters and crank it, you're still in good tone territory. So that'll do it. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you really enjoy what I do, consider subscribing. I would sincerely appreciate it. And please leave some comments below. I would love to know your thoughts on these, whether or not you have anything from the UAFX line. If you think you buy one of these, how would you use it? What is the use case for you? I kind of know what it would be for me, but I'm very curious to know what actual guitar players out there would do with these pedals. And I'm sure Universal Audio would be interested to know that too, since they are relatively new. All right, that's it. I will see you next time. And if you're not done scrolling on your phone, though, if you want to spend some more time there, or if you happen to be watching on your smart TV or computer, I would strongly recommend that you continue on my channel with these videos right over here.